So there's been a lot of strange things happening for a lot of years. I have to say, the issue that I keep coming back to in my mind was like one of the first big red pills for me was following the grooming gang scandal in England with Rotherham and all the other places, Telford, I think. I don't know these places, I'm just remembering the names. And you know what? I'll cut in here in the video the government report. I remember people saying, that can't be true about these grooming gangs. And then I went, and you can Google Rotherham grooming police report or something like, or government report or whatever. And it plainly says in the government report that sweet fuck all was done for fear of the authorities being called racist. And that was a huge red pill for me. Huge red pill that they're letting these girls get groomed, and horrible stories, and nobody cares. Nobody cares. It's two prongs, two levels of nobody caring. That you say that to a normie and they look at you like, oh, that's not true. That literally can't happen. That can't be happening. And you go read the government report, and that's when you get that kind of, spinning color ball of, or blue screen of death, just like shut down, like can't compute, sorry. And people will settle on that can't possibly be true. There's something here that I don't know, or you're making it up, or you're twisting it in some way, and I can't be bothered to figure out how, because that's just not possible. But the next level of don't care was the authorities, who were like, yeah, it may well be happening, but we've got other priorities, we'll put it that way. And then you see all these things, like illegal immigrants and the downfalls of multiculturalism and all these sort of things, dramas and tensions and negative consequences everywhere. And people were saying, the Western countries are weak. And then coronavirus came. And once again, I'll clip these in here, clip in some visuals here. You can see now in my country, as soon as people want to protest against getting a mandated experimental medicine in their arm, the force comes out in abundance. The police are happy to dress up like stormtroopers and scare and fire projectiles at their own population, their own fellow citizens. And so what happened to the weak governments that would let their daughters be groomed and abused? What happened to the weak governments that would let something like the Bataclan attack happen? What happened to the weak governments that did nothing when a refugee can behead a priest when he's doing a mass in France? What happened to the weak governments with child abuse scandals and child trafficking? And what happened to the weak governments that would let mentally ill grown men groom your children by reading them stories? What happened to the weak governments that let obese grown adult males compete in female bodybuilding? We've been so weak and pathetic for so many years now, and have done absolutely nothing in the face of these egregious calamities, these egregious affronts to reason, decency. Yet the people say, we don't want to be forced to have an injection in our arm, and those same weak governments came out with their teeth and their claws, firing projectiles at their own citizens. Well, here's the problem. We thought they were weak, but they weren't weak. They were just acting under a completely inverted set of values. A completely inverted set of values, and I think it is possible that we're starting to understand what those values are. You know, one thing, if you run in the proprietarian circles, is they say the phrase demonstrated interest. And it's basically a more fancy way of saying, watch what people do, don't listen to what they say. Because what people say is, you know, and we'd call that their self-reporting. What people report to you about what their values are can often just be a strategy. But what people do, i.e. their demonstrated interest, that is what they truly value. So human beings are so profoundly selfish that they will watch something like the grooming scandal happen and ignore it, and if they can get on TV and cry over Pakistani refugees or whatever,
I apologise on behalf of my country. I'm sorry.
They will, in that moment, say they support that because the applause from the crowd, the social status of running with the current morality means more to them than standing up for thousands of young girls who have been abused behind out of sight and out of mind. Human beings are that profoundly selfish that they will say, oh, like they're not even aware of this calculation, but it's happening in there somewhere, when they say, oh, you mean I could actually decry and speak out against thousands and thousands of young girls being abused and trafficked and lend my weight behind something being done to create awareness and action against that? Or I could socially masturbate on stage about what a great person I am by ignoring that and just running with the crowd. Most people will just run with the crowd. They will choose the social status, the social validation in that moment. Yet will they put their own children in a situation around the diversity where they will be exposed to the same risk? No. So that is a disconnect between what people say, i.e. what they self-report, and what they do, their demonstrated interests. And we're going through the same realization with the governments now, because we thought they were weak, we thought they were stupid, but no. They have a set of values that they are acting from, and that's why they let some things pass and some things not. I think probably one of the most interesting, content creators is actually a turd flinging monkey. God, fucking get a better name, dude. Seriously, no one can take you seriously, but I think that's the point. You're just so anti. You don't want to be taken seriously. I don't agree with the MGTOW thing. I'm happy to talk about that later if you want, but I don't agree with it. It's definitely a phase you can go through, and it's something to understand, but you have to come out the other side of it. And like I said, I'll have that conversation more if you want. Leave a comment if you want to hear my thoughts on MGTOW. But once again, as I said previously, if you want to have some control over what I'm doing, then offer some reciprocal value and shoot me a donation at the link below. Buy me a coffee, bros. But he is a pretty underrated content creator, and he said things in pretty plain terms that have always stuck with me. He said, women have a care-based morality, men have a justice-based morality. I think that is a great way to put it, And look, before I get all the binary, aspy people, I know it's not a binary, but the more you complicate it, the harder it is to get the point across. you have to simplify things to make the point, and then if people are curious enough after that, you can expand your thinking into, well, it is a binary, and most people have a bit of both, and some of us are on the extreme ends. But just in very general terms, to get the point across, women have a care-based morality, and men have a justice-based morality. And so I think that is really the key to what is going on, and to deciphering the values as demonstrated by the actions of these weak and corrupt Western governments. You can see this with the coronavirus now, where a lot of doctors are coming out and saying that the primary risk factor is obesity. The primary risk factor about having a bad time with COVID-19 is obesity. Now, if you had a justice-based morality, a male, right-wing, justice-based morality, you would say, well, you made your bed, you lie in it, because you made choices and you took actions. And if you don't have agency over those choices and actions, that doesn't really fundamentally change it. You're the one who shoveled hamburgers in your face your whole life. So why should I, who hasn't done that? Why should I, who goes to the gym, who cares what I eat, who looks after myself, who, makes sure that at regular intervals I can run up a hill full pelt, who gets the heart pumping, who tries to keep a decent muscle mass, who has that basic pride of looking after myself, why should I, who cleans my own house, suffer under lockdowns, experimental medication, and the loss of my liberties, just so that you can be safe, so that I can shield you from the consequences of your own actions? I shouldn't. If you've got a justice-based morality, you would say, each to their own. Take what you want and pay for it. Take what you want and pay for it. You make your choices and bear your costs. I will make my choices and bear my costs. That's a justice-based morality. But if you have a care-based morality, you see people as having no agency. You see people as having, like children. Like it comes out of children. If a child does something wrong or stupid or destructive, you go, well, you don't know any better. You're just a kid. And so if you apply that thinking politically, you'd say, well, the obese Jabba the Hutt lookalike that can't stop eating 3 kilos of ice cream at 2 o'clock in the morning, you are like a kid. You don't know what you do. You don't have agency. And so we need to nurture and shield you from the consequences of your actions, because you are powerless. You don't have agency over that. That's a care-based morality. I have to care for you. I have to care for you because you are unable to care for yourself. We have to care for you. We have to look after you. And you know what? So much has been said about white women's attitude toward all the pathetic and needy around the world. But it is true that they seem to see them as needing care. They seem to see them as needy children. And the media knows this. The establishment knows this. If you want to import 500,000 refugees into Europe, just show them a picture. Show them a picture of a dead kid on a beach in Turkey, and they won't even care if their friends get raped. I'm sure they'll care, but they, to varying degrees anyway. But the point is, a justice versus a care-based morality. Are you dealing with other sovereign human beings, or are you dealing with people, needy children who don't have any agency over what they do? And that's something that Kurt said too. The difference between China and the West is the West wants to kiss you into oblivion. We are under this care-based morality. We are under this feminine care-based morality, not a masculine justice-based morality. And that's the clue to deciphering the selectivity with which the Western governments will act. The Western governments will let atrocities happen because the people doing them are weak and pathetic. And they will act against their own citizens because they're not. You know, a care-based morality. And look, this is laid out exactly by Karl Marx. From those, what is it? From those who can to those who need it, basically. I can't remember the exact quote, but it means if you can produce, then produce, and give it to those, or share it equally with those who can't produce. And this is where victimhood has become the moral shield. And you understand the scale of the problem. The scale of the problem in this new morality that we live in is that to be weak is to be moral. Is that to be pathetic is to have power. To be an underachiever is to have social status. To be needy is moral license to tell other people what to do. Do you understand? We're at the behest of the pathetic and the weak. We are being held ransom by people who can't compete. We are being held hostage to subsidize people who can't look after themselves. Our health is being redistributed to shield people who don't care about their health. Our money is being stolen, diluted, and taken from us to give to people who can't or choose not to make money. Our societies are being destroyed to accommodate people who can't build societies. It is such a inversion. And this is where the religious say, because it is a complete inversion of what anyone would call morality, that it is the opposite of God. It is satanic. It's the upside down cross. It is a complete inversion. It's like Stranger Things. What's the opposite world? Everything's upside down and it's black and white. Where the moral is, where the pathetic is the moral. The powerless is the one with the power. The victim is the oppressor. You know, and this is where we're at. This is where we're at, and this is how it's happening. If you attack a victim class, you know, say it's, you know, some disgusting person, some disgusting excuse for a human being who does disgusting things, but they happen to be a homosexual, they can say, well, I'm a homosexual, and everyone will say, how dare you? That person is excused from what they do. Why? Well, because they're weak. They're excused from what they do because that class of person has grown up without power in this society. This person has no power, so now they have power over you. It's absurd, you know. And the same thing with these Pakistani rape gangs in Britain. These people come from powerless countries and live powerless lives, and so now they have power over your daughters. And that's moral. Do you understand? We are living in this insane inversion. of this care-based morality. You know, you see this equality among women looking after children. You know, like my grandmother was absolutely pathological about giving out lollies between her grandkids. You cannot give something to one and not give it to all of them. Everyone has to be equal. And if someone's got more, they have to share it among the other kids. Like it was like an obsession. But, you know, as a grandma, that is really a great thing. That is a really great thing as a grandma. But when you're talking about sharing, redistributing your civilization to people who can't build civilizations, it is a road to hell. These instincts don't scale. They do not scale. You cannot take the way you treat family and apply it to politics. You cannot. But that's exactly what's happening. That is exactly what's happening. I hope you see the scale of, you know, look at these decisions of these governments over the last 5 to 10 years. Look at the things that they chose to ignore and the things that they really cracked down on. They're still vicious. They can still be vicious, and they are still prepared to be vicious, but just to the wrong people and for the wrong reasons. If you are strong, they will be happy to tear you down. If you want to achieve and you take pride in achieving, they will happily give what you produce to someone who has no pride in achieving. If you are healthy, they are happy to put your health at risk to subsidize the unhealthy and the weak. Just seems to be where it's at. Justice-based morality versus a care-based morality. It's a great way to put it. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Have a great day, everyone. I hope you're all feeling pretty chirpy after that. All right, see you next one.